my name is David Siegel. I'm looking for donors to launch my new nonprofit, the Giordano Bruno Institute. For the next 20 minutes, I'll explain the problem I want to solve, I'll describe the solution, I'll tell you who Giordano Bruno was, then I'll give a summary in Elvish, and I'll ask nicely for a few $1,000,000. I'm a lifelong technology entrepreneur. I've started over a dozen companies, written 5 books, and created products you see around you every day. In 2010, I wrote a book explaining that we could use data in a smarter way. In 2017, I created the Pillar Project. I launched a blockchain fundraiser that raised $21 million from over 10,000 people and created a Swiss nonprofit to build the personal data locker so we could all benefit from using our own personal data. But because it was a blockchain project, the team decided to go in a different direction called decentralized finance. I'm now raising money a second time to build the nonprofit that will build the personal data locker. Let me tell you a story. In January 2012, Facebook data scientists ran a 1-week experiment on almost 700,000 users. Half were shown content with happy and positive words. The other half were shown content that was sadder than average. When the week was over, those manipulated users were more likely to post either especially positive or negative words themselves. Facebook showed they could manipulate people's feelings. Have you seen the movie The Social Dilemma? Roger McNamee, a former advisor of Mark Zuckerberg, who was in the movie, wrote a book warning the world. He said, Facebook enables advertisers to identify an emotional hot button for an individual voter that can be pressed for electoral advantage, irrespective of its relevance to the election. Candidates no longer have to search for voters who share their values. Instead, they can invert the model using micro-targeting to identify whatever issue motivates each voter and play to that. This is the weaponization of social media. What matters to Facebook and Twitter is how much time you spend on their platform, and we spend more time when we're angry and upset. First, they create that anger, then they sell you to advertisers, fringe groups, and political parties. This fundamentally changes tech companies from providing tools and solutions to manipulating and monetizing their customers' behavior. This is how extremists build their base. More and more, politicians must use social media to get the votes they need. Platforms like Facebook and Twitter gave Trump the tools to get elected in the first place, and then to create a mob that invaded the Capitol building in January 2021. Regardless of party, all politicians get elected by gaming the system, and today social media is a critical part of a broken political system. What makes this bad isn't the engagement. It's that these platforms are designed to maximize profit for shareholders, not for society. If you think about it, I'm weaponizing PowerPoint right now, trying to get you upset so you'll pay more attention and want to support me in fixing the problem. Now, where's your personal data? You don't have it. These companies have it. Your phone company has a record of every place you visit. You're being tracked as you visit websites. Your medical history is available to companies who pay for it. And everyone knows you've gained a few pounds since Thanksgiving. Is it safe? Just last week, February 2021, Gmail, LinkedIn, Netflix, and other sites lost 3 billion passwords to hackers, including probably yours. Seriously, if you have Gmail or LinkedIn or Netflix, you should probably change your password right now. There are hundreds of data breaches each year. Many include phone numbers, addresses, social security numbers, and credit card numbers. The FBI can force those companies to turn over our data and tell them where we've been, who we've called, every text message we've ever sent, browsing history, etc. Can we really trust these companies with our data? Have you actually read your end user license agreement? The system today we have is extractive. The deal is we get ease of use and they sell our data to the highest bidder. We become their most valuable asset and they give us everything we want except the ability to find a competitor's product. This is called vendor lock-in. In fact, You can buy any Apple product on Amazon except the Apple HomePod, which competes with Alexa. That's not an accident. Speaking of accidents, there are now 5 million apps in the App Store. That makes apps practically invisible. You have to rely on Apple's algorithm to show you the one you want, rather than the one where a company has gamed the search engine to show you something else. People don't have time to find an app that'll be worth installing and creating a new account, let alone using. I want to build a new platform, a single app, where you can own and manage your personal data. Now, here are the basic components. It's based on the concepts in my book, Pull. It starts with your personal data locker, with your name, address, birth date, phone number, etc. Everything is syndicated, though. So if you change your address or phone number, it changes with you. It changes everywhere at the same time. Imagine all the contracts, websites, apps, and other places where your address is right now, and imagine trying to change them all manually. Well, we don't have to imagine. That's the world we live in. Even though we have tons of data, we still end up doing a lot of things manually. Doesn't that make you angry and upset? I thought so. The idea of the data locker is to separate your data from your devices. Your data should live in the cloud, and only you should have the keys. Take any handset, log in, and that handset becomes your device. In a few years, handsets will begin to disappear anyway. We'll just interact with our environment using whatever device recognizes us. Information you need comes to you as you need it. Glasses, earbuds, watches, and other small devices will help us as we go throughout our day. In many cases, we'll just talk to our environment. Your personal data is with you wherever you go, and you're as anonymous as you want to be. We're all willing to trade privacy for convenience as long as it's on our terms and it's easy to manage, right? We should say to vendors, hey, how about you read my end user license agreement for a change? The main point of a self-sovereign identity is that you create it, you own it, you maintain and control it. It's not a government app. Dozens of groups are working on this now. It just needs adoption. Now, you'll build your own social network with people you know and trust. You'll give them access to only the information you want them to have. Every message you send, every photo you share will be done using a digital contract. Because the platform is a nonprofit, there's alignment of incentives between the platform and its users. Would you move to a new social network if you owned your own place in it? This will be your digital castle, and you hold the keys. I don't. To understand the world of offers, think of using Kayak. Have you used Kayak? You specify where you want to go and when, time of departure, landing, airlines, class of seating, price, etc. And the flights come to you. The flights are always sorted according to your wishes, not the algorithms. What if you could do that for everything? From finding a lawyer to finding a babysitter, getting a new insurance policy, a new car, a new piece of art or collectible, or even a new phone. The idea is to create a nonprofit comparison engine. So whenever you're looking for anything, you just ask, and the answers come to you. No apps, no websites, no intermediaries, no advertising. This is the opposite of search, where you have to do most of the hard work to find things you're looking for by hand. Now, today we only have a few digital assistants. Who are they? Siri, Alexa, Google. But did you know those assistants don't work for us? They don't. They work for those platforms to help make them sticky and maximize long-term profitability for shareholders. On my platform, you keep your personal data, but you don't manage it. Nobody wants to manage his own data. Instead, you hire a number of digital personal assistants to do your work for you. Now, these are your digital employees. Some are managers, some are knowledge workers, some are task-oriented. They work with your data and the world of information online. You can ask them questions like, what's the name of that hotel you stayed at in Luxembourg 5 years ago? Or what gifts have you already given your nephew? At the top level, they are your doctor, lawyer, financial advisor, career coach, chauffeur, fitness instructor, even your dating coach. If you don't like them, or a better one comes along, you could just replace it. This is a competitive marketplace. The bots are created by for-profit companies that want to give you the best, safest personal digital assistants you can have. Now, I'm tracking dozens of projects that want to help people leverage their personal data, and they should. They have the right business model. Their incentives are aligned with customers. Unfortunately, they're all funded with just a little money. They have to build apps, infrastructure, customer service, and compliance. They have to be found in the App Store and all that before they can even start helping you. Nobody wants dozens of new apps. So the goal of my project is to give consumers a single platform with no apps and no accounts, where everything comes to you when you ask for it or need it. You don't have to pre-download it or install anything. It has to be easy, but you'll also have to pay a little bit because there is no advertising. So what I'm building is horizontal. It's a platform for others to build on. Let's see how the platform would work for us. Walk into your doctor's office and your watch or your earbud will say, "Would you like me to check you in?" No filling out forms. All you have to do is say yes. Your digital medical advocate will then share all the data your doctor needs, not more. Last week, I got an X-ray of my foot. Why isn't a copy of that automatically sent to my personal data locker? Oh, because we don't have personal data lockers. Tesla, for example, is a platform. Now, you probably haven't read the end user license agreement from Tesla. I'll tell you, you can do anything with your driving data except move it to another platform. So if you have another car, or you rent a car, or sell your Tesla, you need to keep track of all your transportation data on several different systems. In my world, your personal data locker is your chauffeur. You hire the algorithm that drives whatever car you're allowed to drive. It has a full record of everywhere you've ever been on any car. It knows where home is. It knows where to pick up your kids from school. It can pick up your groceries or your grandmother by itself. It's your data, your driving preferences, and it interacts with your insurance company to let you start your car in the first place. It's independent of the device, and you can replace your digital chauffeur with another one if you find a better one any time. Now, it won't be long before you can get your entire genome sequenced. Well, where will that data live? Pfizer will be happy to store it for you. Believe me, they'll do it for free. They might even pay you to do it. They'll make it super easy, but they won't share it with other drug companies. Wouldn't you rather pay about $5 a year to store your genomic data on your server and give access to your data on your terms? Because if you answered no, you're watching the wrong video right now. There are many more use cases I'll be happy to mention anytime. I made a movie showing a day in the life of a typical user, which you can see on your own when you have time, and I'll put a link to that video down below in the description. The platform is the new business model. Time on platform is the new business metric. I want to build a platform where the consumer is at the center. My platform will serve billions of people, create tens of thousands of jobs, and a new economy to replace the vampire platforms we have today. In fact, we have an opportunity now to work with a province in one of the largest countries in Africa, a province with more than 2 million citizens, to give them a way to collect their own data and interact with government services. In Africa, the advertising model isn't going to be very effective, and it gives us an advantage. With strong donors, we can create a platform that over 100 million people will use. In North America, over 38 million people have now seen The Social Dilemma. That's 38 million people who are aware of the problem and would consider switching to something better. Would you? I think it's possible to get our first million users from that population, and probably from you if you're watching this right now. And then we can grow it from there. I'll just translate from the original Elvis because I assume your Elvis is a little rusty. There's a prophecy. One app to rule them all. One app to find them. One app to delete them all, and with privacy and personal data bind them. That's what it says right there. How often do you see Elvis in a presentation? In this paradigm, there are no handsets, there are no apps. So let's build what people need, not what Apple wants us to buy. A heretic challenges the prevailing assumptions. Giordano Bruno was the last person burned at the stake in 1600 by the Catholic Church for writing that the earth revolves around the sun and that everything in the universe is made up of tiny particles we can't see. His death paved the way for other mavericks like Galileo to be more tolerated, as more and more evidence showed they were right and the church was wrong. He was a heretic. He was a pain in the ass and a truth seeker. The pandemic has been tragic, but it has dramatically accelerated the digital economy. The mobile advertising market this year alone is expected to be over $200 billion. $200 billion worth of advertising on handsets this year. Much of it is aimed at our kids. You might have noticed that most apps are now free. How free are they really? I'm starting a revolution to create a safe haven for those of us who value privacy. Are you one of us? Well, let me address a few reasons why you shouldn't support my project. It's definitely risky. It should be risky. If it weren't, I wouldn't have any chance to move the needle, to change society, to disrupt a $600 billion a year advertising industry. Incremental improvement isn't going to get us out of the trap we're in. Could it fail? Yes, it could fail, but it's not a startup. It's a nonprofit. So if people believe in us, we'll keep going until we succeed. We'll keep doing experiments until we get traction and expand on that. The risk is in not being able to raise the money we need to try. It's undefined. We need to look for opportunities. To help 1 billion people in Africa, we'll have to find partners there and work with them to solve African problems. To enter the U.S. market, we need to find parents and kids looking for an alternative and solve specific problems for them. But if you believe in the core idea of a single app that consolidates your data and provides a market of for-profit solutions that you pay for with no advertising, then you should consider helping us build and shape that future. We need a lot more than money. There are security issues. There are always security issues, but how secure is your data right now? Not only are companies getting hacked and losing your data, they're actively selling it. We can use the same security technology your bank uses, but you have the keys. I won't have access to your data. I think we're less secure keeping things the way they are now, don't you? This isn't for everyone. Some people would like to see more regulation or better education or fairer media, or they'll just wait and see what happens. But I want to build a real platform so people have choice. So billions of people around the world don't have to agree to Apple and Google's terms. So our children aren't being manipulated and targeted all day long. So we can build a less corrupt future for society, because this isn't about technology. This is about freedom. I need a budget of $10 million a year to try again. I need the brave supporters to raise their hands and join me. Have I radicalized you? Have I gotten you angry enough to join my band of rebels going up against huge companies and change the world? I hope a few people will want to join me to get it started. Again. Thank you.